we don't have to cast our mind back too far to recall the challenges that we faced when we were locked down in 2021. And we had, earlier in that year, we were going from week to week rolling lockdowns, and then we were in that, full lockdown that started in August. And then when we launched in 2022, we launched and we believed that this year was going to be better than the preceding 2 years. And we cast vision for the year, believe, Mark 11:24, believe whatever you ask for in prayer and it will be yours. And so we were just pumped, like ready to run for 2022. But instead of a rousing leap into 2022, it was more like a weary limp. COVID ISOs, right? They were still prolific. Genuine social hesitation and genuine anxiety was still preventing people from gathering. And then there was this spike and rise in colds and flus and kept people away from work and church. And so it was a little bit discouraging, to be honest. I'm not sure if you felt that, but our churches, and this is what I was just so encouraged by, our churches were still staying the course and still believing that our best days were still ahead of us, and that despite the inconsistencies of the world at the time, we were continuing to believe that we serve a consistently faithful, stable, true, and always generous God who's always pouring out his favor upon our surrendered lives, like, bringing revival to our world and throwing back to our theme from 2021. And so what I observed during that season of instability, what I've observed, this is really just looking at you leaders, team leaders, and people in the life of our church, it's demanded another layer of extraordinary hard work from all of our team and leaders. Wouldn't you agree that it's really called us up to, are we really just going to do whatever it takes? And I just observed this extraordinary, hard work from all team leaders, all team members, and our people have really grown in their level of resilience like never before. And I wanted to point that out to you in case you hadn't noticed it, because it's true of you that you've grown in your level of resilience and your strength has just been off the charts. And I've noticed that mostly with those ones who have chosen to keep leaning into these challenges and keep persevering through what has been discouraging and disappointing times, I've really seen leadership rise in those people. And I don't know why this came to me, but I was thinking of that picture of the guy holding the rock up the hill, right? And when I was doing my research, about that, I was reminded that it was from Greek mythology. Are you aware of this? This guy called what's his name? Sisyphus was holding who was cursed to hold this boulder, or try and roll this boulder to the summit of a mountain. He was cursed to hell to do it by Zeus, because there was some tension there with him, apparently, with Zeus. And every time he got it to the summit of the mountain, it would return to the bottom. And the Greek mythological character Sisyphus had to spend his eternity trying to get this boulder to the summit of this hill. And then within moments of success, he'd find himself back at the bottom again, having to start all over again. And what looks like a curse, what I feel like God was showing me, what looked like a curse in this constant up and down kind of pattern, was actually how leaders grow. And the truth is that growing in resilience and growing in our strength of character and even deepening in our relationship with Jesus doesn't happen at the summit of our life's journey. This is true, isn't it? If you've experienced this before, it often and almost always happens on our way toward those moments that we celebrate, those good reports. It's always in the hard work, the showing up, the bringing our best, the putting others first, the choosing to have fun in the middle of failure, bringing something inspirational even when we aren't feeling inspired ourselves. And I've seen you do that over the last sort of 8 months of this year. And these are all indicators of mature people of faith. And that's what you are. You are mature people of faith. You're growing in what God's called you to, and it's building resilience, even if you don't feel like you've reached where you think you should be. And so on our way to the summit, be like Sisyphus. Just keep on rolling that boulder because it's doing you good. You know, you're getting stronger. And so once we arrive at the summit, which does happen from time to time, right? We look down upon the journey we've been on, and we look down and we say, wow, look how far we've come. Look at this great thing that we've been able to accomplish by the power of God at work in our lives. When we get to the summit, we need to be like another Greek god called the Greek god of Nike. And I did some research about Nike, and Nike is the goddess of victory. And it's recorded that Nike is recorded to be the champion for Zeus, the one that championed Zeus on in his battle against the Titans. And as legend goes, this is what I discovered in my research, that Zeus was ready to give up in this battle of the Titans, and Nike came along and was cheering him on, and reminding him that he carried the power of thunder and lightning in his hands, and that he had the power to overcome any adversary. And he'd done it before, and he could do it again. And I was like, great, at the summit, that's our moment to point to what was and say, hey, we can do this again. And in Psalm 126, verse 4-6, the psalmist records these words, and this is similar to this theme of championing each other on when we're doing well, when we're winning. It says, and now God, do it again. Bring rains to our drought-stricken lives, so those who planted their crops in despair will shout, yes, at the harvest. And that's kind of like what Nike's doing. He's shouting yes at the summit, yes at the harvest. So those who went off with heavy hearts will come home laughing with armloads of blessing. And so I just wanted to take a couple of minutes just to celebrate and shout yes at the harvest. I want to be like Nike and celebrate the phenomenal accomplishments that we've seen. Because already this year, we've seen so much fruit from our faithful leadership, and that's you guys, and you should be celebrated. And I don't think I can ever celebrate you guys enough, because you are just great people, brilliant leaders, stepping up and into the things that God's put on your life, and it's bearing phenomenal fruit. We, so far this year, across the life of our church, despite all the challenges that we've seen with ISO, COVID, with sickness, etc., we've seen 144 that we know of, 144 first-time guests in our rooms this year, which in a year like this is just brilliant in the context that we are in. So that the fact that you're bringing people to church, you're encouraging your teams to bring people to church, people are still looking and searching, for something more than what's already going on in their lives, is something to celebrate. We've seen that we know of 6 first-time decisions, people saying yes to Jesus already this year. From what the records show, it's roughly 1 a month. And so I just think that's still something phenomenally fantastic, that we're seeing people say yes to Jesus for the first time. We're seeing water baptisms. This month we'll have our first water baptism service since Easter last year, and we're seeing 3 people water baptized. And again, these are all things that point to the fact that you've been willing to do what it takes to keep moving forward. And now we get to celebrate some of these phenomenal things that are taking place. And as Rachel shared earlier, Holy Spirit baptisms. We've had reports of miraculous physical healings, phenomenal financial breakthroughs. And that's been reported over these last few weeks as we've been talking about our My Miracle Money series. At least 45 new academy enrollments. Natalie shared with me up until August. And again, our first official Toronto Academy enrollment starting this week. So come on, that is a massive spiritual breakthrough as well as a phenomenal practical breakthrough. And to put on our first ever face-to-face showcase in Scone, and for the team there to pull off such an excellent event that pointed people to Jesus and the generosity of his church to the community, is just, it's hard to put words to. And we've heard good report after good report from that showcase. We should be cheering that on, celebrating that, and not moving on too quickly from this, from these celebrations. Bringing our Cessnock showcase back into the room, again, it's kind of like going from a standing start. It's almost like the Sisyphus, you're holding the boulder up for so long, and then all of a sudden, all that hard work begins to pay off, and you see something come to pass that brings breakthrough in that space. And I just think, again, Cessnock, you guys did a brilliant job in putting that showcase together, and there's been so much brilliant fruit coming from that already. In fact, the Toronto enrollment that we've seen is fruit from that academy in the showcase in Cessnock. And then we roll forward the next week to our Above and Beyond weekend, where we're raising money to move the kingdom forward, and we are raising some significant funds already. I don't know if I have permission to share the total of that just yet, but we're getting close. We're getting closer. We're going to announce the total so far. They're rolling total in our services on the weekend, but it is miraculous. I'll be honest with you. It's just miraculous. And that was another significant weekend that we've just ruled a line under. And then we're pointing to Father's Day next week, and we've got our first water baptism service next week, as I said, since Easter last year. And then the week after that, we're sending our first group of young people, our first youth, to a youth event in 2.5 years. And we're going to be having our launch of a series that's going to be focused on prayer. And we're going to be focusing on that for about 2 months. And so I think it's time, and we should be shouting yes at the harvest. Let's not forget, and let's not just move on too quickly from some of these phenomenal things we've seen take place. And so, yes, I think the question I posed in this thought was, how do the best leaders embrace discouragement? Well, they keep moving forward, one little step at a time. It might feel like you're pushing that boulder uphill, but it's developing you. And how do good leaders celebrate victory? Well, they're like Nike. They remind each other that we've done it before and we can do it again, that all power and authority has been given to us as the church to do what only the church can do, which is reach the world with the message of Jesus. And we're seeing that. So